Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's SCORE Fairfield County's live webinar on 50 ways to get more customers. I'm Bob Hogan, the webinar coordinator and a business mentor here at SCORE Fairfield County, and I'll be your host today. Our presenters today are Simon Silverleaf and Bob Trinka. More about Simon and Bob in just a moment, but first some brief information on SCORE. SCORE is a national organization with 320 chapters across the country and over 11,000 volunteers. We were started in the mid-1960s, and we're part of the Small Business Administration of the federal government. Locally here, SCORE Fairfield County has over 100 volunteers with a wide range of industry, process, and subject matter expertise, and we offer three primary value-added services to small business owners. We offer one-on-one counseling, either face-to-face, by telephone, email, or Skype. We offer a wide range of educational workshops and webinars like the one we're having today, about 160 in total over the year. And thirdly, we offer extensive resources on our website, including a network of subject experts which are always at your disposal. Our next webinar will be 2 weeks from today on Tuesday, October 3rd, when Kelly Haddis will present Branding for Success with Social Media. And you can look for more specifics on that webinar on our website at fairfieldcounty.score.org. Today's webinar will end sharply at 1 p.m. We'll respect your time, and the conference is being recorded. And the link to the recording and the slide materials will be available on our website, fairfieldcounty.score.org, within the next few days. We have set aside time for questions and answers at the end of the presentation today. But if you have a question, please use the chat window at any time during the presentation. You can look for it in the lower left-hand side of your screen. As I say, we will make room to take time for those questions toward the end of our presentation today. It's now my pleasure to introduce our speakers. Simon Silverleaf initially started work as a programmer and has run his own small business. And so knowing the importance of the customer to any business has led him to understand and develop tools and techniques to acquire customers. Simon has digital marketing experience and is a Constant Contact certified provider. He is also a volunteer business mentor here at SCORE Fairfield County. Bob Trinka has extensive experience leading sales and marketing teams in the B2B markets. His marketing teams have developed sophisticated e-commerce websites with content that fed qualified leads to the sales department where they can be converted to satisfied customers. I'll now turn it over to Simon, who will carry the bulk of the presentation, and Bob will join us for the question session. Simon, all yours.
Thank you, Bob, and good afternoon, everybody. So today we're going to go through some I don't think the slide changed here. Double click. Okay. So today's agenda, what I'm going to talk about to begin with is the importance of having a plan and how that plan controls your web presence. We'll also briefly touch on how the web has actually changed the process by which the customer has a journey to buying from you. And then finally, we're going to start looking at the tools, and one of these is the email nurturing tool that you can use with Gmail. All of these tools have actually I've set up a lot of this on a website called 50waystogetmorecustomers.com. And the next slide, which is, I put a short link up there, so if you want to look at it, you can see this and you can actually delve into the different slides that will come up during this presentation, is at bit.ly/webinar091917. So if we go, double click, okay. All right, so these are the topics that we're going to talk about. We're going to go through the plan, credibility, elements of the internet, the difference between free, freemium, and paid tools, and then we will move on to making sure that you have claimed all your listings that exist to help you with your SEO. Then there's reputation management, which is looking at all of the reviews that you get on the various websites and controlling those. Then we'll back off into the sales process, how it's changed 15 years ago plus and now. Finally, there's some little tricks that I've learned in how you control what Google lets you see by using multiple profiles in your Chrome browser. This only works in Chrome. I don't know if it works in any of the other browsers. Then we're going to go through setting up your email signature and how to use canned emails. And finally, I'll goes briefly into some other tools, and at the end we'll talk about Google Tag Manager and Google Analytics, which help you see what's going on. So where I like to start things is very simply, is you need a plan. And if any of you have read Stephen Covey's books, 7 Habits of Successful People, you will know that habit number 2 is begin with the end in mind. So having a plan is really, really important, and a lot of my career was around project management. I did at one point become a PMI certified project management professional, PMP, and learned some of the tools and techniques. But project management is as much an art as a science. And really the important thing about project management is actually learning to understand where you are today, where you want to be, and the activities and actions that you need to take to get from where you are today to where you want to be. Now, if you're just starting out in business, obviously you've got an idea of where you want to be, so what are the things, the tactical things you need to do to move on and get through those? It just went very quiet. I don't know. Oh, it's okay? All right. So I came up with a little way to remember what we're trying to do. So on the Internet, we are trying to create credibility. Credibility is the most important thing as to why people will actually believe that you have something that they want. You also have to show that you are an authority in the field that you are selling in. And finally, what you need to do is build trust. And trust is where you get to with the activities associated with managing your reviews and taking your reviews and looking at them. So what's in your plan? What are the elements of your plan? Well, this is all really going to depend totally on your business and what you do. I can't write your plan. Nobody can write your plan for you. You need to be able to sit down. You need to, if you've got a whiteboard, use that and write up all the things, put it on Post-it notes, make lists, and figure out exactly what it is you need to do. The plan will come out of all of that. If you need help with it, obviously you can come to SCORE, and we will give you free help to do that. We won't write your plan for you. I spent yesterday afternoon with a couple for about an hour explaining to them what their plan needed to be, but I couldn't write it because I don't know the business like they do. I also explained to them that anybody who is selling them a service to manage their social media won't know their business like they do either. So they need to pay a lot of attention to actually making sure that they know what's in the plan. Of course, if you've got money to spend, you can go and find other people. Lots of people will help you do this. But you need to be careful who's helping you to do what. So what have we got out there on the Internet? I like to kind of think of it, when I started putting together this presentation, which came out of a number of conversations with people around the SCORE office, talking about, why can't we have a checklist for people in terms of what do they need to do for social media? Well, social media isn't really just the only part of it. You have a business plan, and that business plan has to encompass how you market. And marketing these days is social media, and there isn't a distinction anymore. You have to have social media to market. And if you look at this picture, on the left we have our website, which you can be using tools like WordPress, Wix. There's other things like Squarespace and Shopify. And those you get found by making sure that your SEO, your search engine optimization, is good. Search engine optimization is all about how you use the free part of making sure that what's on your website is relevant so that the Googles and the Bings of this world pick it up and display it in their search listings. You also potentially, if you can have a blog, and your blog will be your thoughts to help build your credibility. Show who you are, make sure you know what you're talking about so people believe you. Then over on the right, we have all the social media networks. Now, the social media networks that you might use are going to depend very much on your business. if you have a business to consumer business, you are going to probably be using Facebook to communicate to people. But Facebook initially only, you have to get people to like your page for them to see your posts. Likewise, if you are a business-to-business person, you're probably going to want to use LinkedIn. And LinkedIn will provide you with access to people. And a couple of the little tools that I've got help you when you're in your Gmail to look up your customers or potential customers without having to go and say, well, I'm going to look up Fred Jones and I want to find out who he is on Facebook and who he is on LinkedIn. They automatically can show you who that person is, pull up their profiles on Facebook and on LinkedIn, and you can look very carefully at what they are actually showing you. Then you have the other areas which include, YouTube. You need to produce as professional videos as possible. I know a lot of people like to think I can produce a video on my phone, but if you're doing it for your business, my recommendation is you go out and you find someone who can help you make a professional-looking video, because I think the more professional it is, the more that builds your credibility and authority. Twitter is kind of the icing on the cake, because Twitter is not a closed system. Basically, when you tweet, it goes out to the world, and it's a way that people can find you. So Twitter and search engine optimization go very hand in hand. If you have an arts and crafts service, you're going to want to use Pinterest, because that's where the people, your audience, are going to be. As you build your audience, one of the key things you have to do is collect email addresses, because within the whole social media environment, you are going to want to have a newsletter. And I know this every time I talk to someone about this, I know they will say this is an awful lot of things to do, but the important thing to remember is you can repurpose the content. So you can write something once, and you can use it in an email. You can put it on your website in a blog. You can post it on Facebook. You can tweet it out. So you don't have to necessarily be continually writing everything separately and differently. So let's go back to the plan. How do you make a plan? So it's got to have information about your website. You also need to do, and we're going to this in a minute, verify your search results. Then you have to set up all your social media sites, your Facebook page, your LinkedIn page. And once you have that set up, then you can start doing things about nurturing emails. So one of the things I've done is, if you actually, on the website, you will actually see there is a link to this chart, which is a very simple project plan. And you can download this. The address for this is goo.gl/RTUH_M_C, and you'll be able to copy this into your Google documents. And this is a Google sheet, and it's got some lines in it which you can edit, and you can generate your own project plan and your list of activities using this. So once you've figured it all out, what tools do you want to use? The internet is a very clever marketing device in itself, and a lot of people have found ways to make money. And they actually tell you initially that you can use this tool wonderfully for free. I mean, Google is a champion at getting you to use free things in the attempt that you will actually move to their paid services. So often they have freemium products, and freemium is a term that has come to mean basically you get basic functions for free and limited data, but once you want to use some of the more intricate functions, you have to start paying. And sometimes you can start paying quite a lot quite quickly. So before you start using a tool, you need to do your research, find out what it is. A couple of the tools that I will mention, I already know that you can use one of them free for 30 days, then you have to start paying. You get the unlimited service free for 30 days, and then after 30 days you can only do 10 activities a month on it, and after that you have to pay. So again, we're here at SCORE. We can help you look at some of these tools. So if you've already set up a company, there are the Googles, Yahoos, and Bings of this world have actually done things for you. They go out and they look at the information and they pull it in to create the listings. If you go back 20 years, Yahoo started off with the idea that it was going to index the internet. Well, in those days, indexing was the phone book, and everybody thought, you put information in the phone book and you do it, and everybody feeds it in, and you build the index. Well, the clever guys at Google came along and said, well, we can do this better. We can get a better coverage of the data that's available. We'll go out and we'll suck everything in from everywhere on the internet, and then we'll index it. Well, once they did that, they started to realize that, there's a lot of inconsistent information. So they started down the route of trying to produce valid information for people, and they started generating listings for people. But those listings you have to go and claim. Again, there are all the other, this isn't just Google, this isn't just Yahoo, this isn't just Bing. You need to go and look at all of the social media sites and see if there is anything already up there that relates to your business. So we're going to talk now about something called Google My Business. Google My Business is a very powerful thing, and one of the interesting things is that SCORE Fairfield County actually in Norwalk had 3 listings until recently. I think there are still 2 because I've only managed to get one of them deleted, and 2 of them actually related to an office location that SCORE in Fairfield County hadn't used for 5 years. And ironically, we actually got a call from somebody asking where that office was a couple of weeks ago. So when you go in and Google your name, what you want to do is you want to look for all of your information. And you see, we've been doing a really great job at making sure that our search engine turns up several pages of things about us. And this is really, really important. The more that shows up about you, the better. Again, it comes back to your credibility and your authority. How much is there up there that exists about you? But if you look at the right-hand side, there is a listing. And that listing on the right-hand side is actually created by Google. And you may already have a listing even though you don't know about it. And the most important thing you have to do is go and claim your listing. So once you claim your listing, right, and you have access to it, you will see above the listing, you will actually see that you can edit the information, you can add details, and you can actually control the reviews on of that listing. So I've claimed the listing, we've gone in, we've changed it, and one of the things I added, for example, if you look most of the way down on the right-hand side, it says appointments. So now we have a link that allows people from there, and that link takes them directly to a request mentor page that SCORE has on the SCORE website. So you would do the same thing if you wanted people to request a callback. You could take them to rather than just take them to your website, you take them to a page where they can fill out a form and send in the information. So once you actually have access, you actually get into Google My Business, you actually have access to this menu. And this menu is partially the information that you will find in Google Analytics. And if you look down the left-hand side, you will see that you can go in and you can edit all those different functions, whether there's reviews. Insights shows you how many people have accessed your website. But the one thing that you possibly don't want to do is where it says website, that is Google's attempt to get everybody who hasn't got a website to create a website, like a Wix-type website, through Google. So just be careful on that function. The users allows you to actually, once you've claimed it, to allow people to access this and update it. Now, one of the things I actually did for SCORE Fairfield County is I created a whole special secret email address that has access to this and to some of the other listings that we will talk about. But I think that when you actually do this, you shouldn't use your personal email for this. You should have some other email that allows you to keep control of this separately from everything else. So how do you get to this? So if you want to find if you have a listing, what you want to do is go to the website gybo.com/business, and it will say how to attract customers with free Google listings. And then what you want to do is look at where it says view my listing, and then you will type in your name and you will be able to see the listings that they've created for you. If you don't have a listing, it actually allows you to create the listing. So you can go ahead and put this up there. And again, that helps with your search engine optimization because that will bring you back to, bring you up when people search for your name or search for what you do. So another listing site which is probably very important for local businesses is Yelp. And what I discovered is, of course, Yelp had created one for SCORE as well. And I was able to go and claim this. I'm not quite sure whether it was created by another SCORE counselor. It was just sitting out there, and I claimed it, and can now edit it and add pictures. So if you've got a restaurant, you want to make sure you've claimed your listing because people can post reviews, and one of the things you want to do is make sure you get good reviews and you deal with the bad reviews. Again, listings like Foursquare, there are so many of these listing sites. Recently, and coming on from October the 1st, SCORE Fairfield County and Greater Bridgeport SCORE will combine into one. What I found is although SCORE Fairfield County here in Norwalk doesn't have any listings on Foursquare, friends over in Bridgeport did. So we need to bring these two things together so that we can actually control them. Now, one of the important things to do is to get reviews. So what is interesting about reviews? Do people post reviews without you asking? The answer is probably yes if they had a bad experience. But if they had a good experience, do they even think about posting a review? So what I did is I recently asked Barry Skalka, who is our chapter chair. He posted one for me. But it's very important if you're in the business-to-business environment and you want people to see who you've worked with and that people you've worked with you've done a good job for, you want to make sure you ask for a recommendation. Very interestingly, I have a friend who is a resume coach, and I was looking at her postings, and she has 53 recommendations for people. And she actually gets more people signing up for her because they see all these recommendations. All these recommendations say what a good job she did for people, and therefore she wants that encourages people to believe that she can do the work for them, and she builds the trust. And trust is very important in getting people to buy from you. So what has actually changed in the world in the last 15, 20 years? So everything and everyone is out on the Internet. So back years ago, people would have received information through media advertising. They would have known about products. They wouldn't have known what the whole field of what you do is available. They might not even have known about you. So the first thing they knew about your service is when you had tracked them down and figured out that they were a potential customer and you'd banged on their door and said, can I come in and talk to you? So the process was that the salesperson had a lot more control over the whole selling cycle. They got to choose the customers in a way that we don't get to choose them anymore, because what happens in today's environment is people go and check you out. They make sure they can find you online. If you're not online, they won't believe you're real. So that moment when the salesperson and the customer meet, they already know who you are. They've already checked you out. They've known what your product is. They've possibly even almost made a decision that you're the potential supplier for their product or service. At that point is when your negotiation starts and you start to get people to show up. So if we look at that, you've got to keep continuously putting out information about your business so that it's fresh on the internet, people know you're still in business, and that they can find you. So sales funnels are very important in the sense that you need to find all those people out there. That not every single person, of the 7 billion on this planet, are going to buy your product or service. Maybe Facebook will eventually get every person on the planet to be on Facebook, but most of us, there are a smaller group of people in the world who are going to be interested in our product. And the most important thing is getting them from using advertising and search and your website to get the people who are out there who are potentially interested in your product to become aware of your service. Once they become aware of your service, then you can start bringing them down into being the potential for your clients. So we can look at that a different way. So in today's environment, the customer journey, you need to build awareness. And once you've got awareness, you've got to keep them going through this cycle. You've got to keep them interested in what you're doing. They're doing research. They're trying to find out what's going on. They're comparing you against other people because they can do as much research on you as anybody else. And if there's more about you out there, that's much better. Then eventually they will make the decision. People don't really like to be sold to anymore. They want the feeling that they're buying from you, not that you're pushing it down their throat that you've got to have it. And once they become customers, you have to go around the cycle. You want them to come back and buy more, preferably, because a customer that's purchased from you is much more likely to be a customer who will come back and buy again. So one of the things I didn't mention is when you open that file to look at that project plan, you will see it come up as view only. So what you want to do is when it comes up as view only, you want to say add to my drive so you can actually copy it over. So when I was a kid, I guess cookies were the best thing in the world. They're not now. There are a couple of words that the internet has grabbed and used, and cookie is one of them. And for better or worse, a cookie is this tiny little snippet of code that when you visit a website, it logs who you are. You can always clear out your cookies. You can delete them at any time, but they're typically used by all the different websites for tracking. And the thing is that with Google, it is taken using cookies for tracking to a level that can feel sometimes slightly obtrusive. So if you're building your business and you're building your website, and you want to see how other people view you, you can't necessarily use the same Chrome session that you're using your regular account with. So you want to know how to create a second profile, because switching between profiles can be difficult and awkward, but if you actually have it set up so that you have multiple profiles, I actually have about 6 or 7 different profiles for the things I do, so that I know that the searches I will get in each one are different. So if you look at the Chrome window in the top right-hand corner, you will see your name will appear in the top right-hand corner. And what you can do is, if you click on that, it will list you, and then you'll say Manage People. So I have a profile called LinkedIn, because I have some LinkedIn tools that I don't want to get infected by what I'm doing in my regular account. What you do is go down the page when you hit Manage People and Add Person. Now, to add a person, you actually have to have a second Gmail address. So you need to create multiple Gmail addresses. Again, this is one of the things I said. You want a special Gmail address for claiming all of your properties on the Internet, and you want that separate. You don't necessarily want that out there. People, if it's a known email address, people can then start hacking you. So the other thing to know is that once you're in Gmail, how do you get to all the interesting functions that you have in Gmail? And if you look in the top right-hand corner, Google has this obsession with gear wheels. And you will find gear wheels, if you click on them, they are either settings or admin functions. So if you click on that, you will go to settings, will take you to a new screen in Gmail, which looks like this. So across the top, it has general, labels, inbox, and some other things, and we're going to go into some of the other things in a moment. So the first thing you do with your Gmail account is make sure you set up your signature. So it's very important within your email signature that you actually put your name and repeat your email address. I know that when you send an email to someone, they automatically get your email address, but for some reason, a lot of people out there don't even realize that half the time. So you need to make sure that your email address is repeated. Put your phone number, your website, and the social media sites that you want. And if you are trying to collect emails from people, you want to put in a sign up to your email list. So if you use something like Constant Contact, they provide you with a nice little widget that you can just plonk in there, and when the people click on it, it takes them to a page on Constant Contact, and they can sign up for your email list. So the next thing we want to talk about is nurturing emails. So nurturing emails is a process that you need to go through. Nobody buys anything out of the box. People look, they review. We're doing a very extensive advertising campaign here with SCORE Fairfield County, and a lot of people were sort of like, well, all these people came to visit our site, but none of them did anything. But then when subsequent emails went out, the visits of people who'd been there before repeated, they stayed longer, they looked at more. Eventually, we hope that they will actually sign up for either one of our workshops or come in here for mentoring, and we can help them with their business. So I've created two more spreadsheets. One is just a tracking sheet that we will I'll show briefly, and the second one is the canned email that we're going to look through. And again, if you go back to the website that I said and looked at canned emails, everything that we do in the next few slides is set out in great detail on that website, so you don't need to take notes. So we're going to set up the canned email, and the bottom of this screen shows the email message. And the purpose of this message is very simple. You go to networking events. You meet someone, you get a business card. It's important to start the conversation with them. And starting the conversation is just to say, hi, I'm here, right? Something about this conversation you had. But in general, most of the email is fairly similar. What you need to do is write your own email. This is just a basic template suggestion. The more it looks like you, the better it is. Don't just copy what someone else does. Think about it. Okay, look at the idea. Think how you would say it. Think what words you would use. Think how you talk and how you speak to make sure that it becomes an authentic you voice. So again, we're going to go to settings in Gmail. You go across to settings, and over on the right-hand side, almost on the extreme right-hand side, is a thing that's called Labs. So within Labs, you're going to type in the search canned. And what comes up is a little box that's called canned responses. It'll be disabled when you go in initially, so you want to enable it. It's as simple as that, and save the changes. Now, when you go into Gmail and you say, I want to create a new message, down in the bottom right-hand corner, there's a little down arrow. If you click on that down arrow, when that little pop-up window that comes up, there is now a new little tab called Canned Responses. So what you should do, first of all, is you want to start with a completely blank email. So you may have to remove your signature if you have put it in there. Once you do that, you copy and paste, for example, the email text that I put up there. And when you say save as a canned message, you give it a name. So contact with contact from previous meetings. Connect with contact from previous meetings. And hit save. What that then allows you to do is the next time you have an email, right, that you want to send to somebody and you want all that basic text, you can have as many of these as you like. All you do is you put your cursor in the body of the email and you hit insert, and all of it goes in there. And then you just edit the one or two little bits. So that's creating the emails. What you need to do also is have some lists that you look at to make sure you know how you're tracking the customers. And here I just created a very, very simple spreadsheet where you put in the person's name, you have some kind of status associated with them, you have their email address, their phone number, where they're from, and then what you want to do is you need a log of how often you have contacted them. Now, eventually, you're probably going to have something that is a CRM system, which will do all that tracking for you. But when you're starting out, you're not going to have that. So this is just a simple way to keep track of all of your contacts. And then when you can sort and select by status and type, you can decide which ones you want to contact, who's becoming much more active, how far down, how many times they've responded to your emails, how close they are becoming to becoming a customer. So moving on to the other tools, we'll quickly go through some of these. So there is a Google add-in to Gmail called discover.ly. Discover.ly, when you type in an email address in Gmail, will give you a complete listing of people's Facebook and LinkedIn social profiles. And therefore you can see, it'll tell you who you're connected to and how they're connected with you, which is very important because references and referrals from other people are something that are very, very important for making contact. That's part of the trust. People will often buy from someone who they trust. So if you know someone they know, then you can actually build a better rapport with that potential customer. Reportive.com is actually an add-in that you use on Facebook. It does exactly the same thing. Basically, when you're on somebody's social profile, you click on it and it will show you information about their LinkedIn and their Twitter accounts. So it will show you the information. I'm not going to go into today, but there are a whole bunch of tools that you can plug into LinkedIn as well that allow you to send messages to people very easily. Now, when you're actually producing your website, it's nice to have some pictures and diagrams, and we would all probably love to be Photoshop experts so that we could take any picture and manipulate it and do whatever we want with it. But Photoshop is a complicated, difficult piece of software to learn. But Canva is a free website, and basically you can upload your pictures, you can take the pictures and you can add text on top of them, you can add your logo, you can do all sorts of things to make the picture look more like it belongs to you. And I'm a great believer in not using stock photographs. Stock photographs, it's amazing how quickly people will actually get to the point where if you use a stock photograph on your website, they will find that. And in fact, if you right mouse click on any picture in Gmail, in Chrome, you can actually do a search on image, and it will show you everywhere where that picture is used. So it's really easy to find where people are copying images from. So if you want to really learn how to track things and how to determine conversions from your website, Google now has a tool called Google Tag Manager. And Google Tag Manager is something that once you get to a certain advanced level, you're probably going to want to learn how to use, because all of the tools use small snippets of code that you can insert into your website. And then you want to, Google Tag Manager actually manages those small snippets of code. It manages it for Google Analytics. It manages it for Facebook Pixels. It manages it for Pixels for anybody. And Pixels are like cookies, except what they do is they take, they know who you are, right? And they send that information back to the advertiser. So the advertiser knows that if somebody visited your website, then the next time they go to another website that is in that advertising group and you are advertising, you can potentially show your advert. We've been using it with Hearst Media here at SCORE, and basically anybody who visits our website is likely to see ads that is being placed on Inc. magazine by Hearst Media for us. So it's just about getting people's your name recognition and people understanding who you are. So email platforms, you probably should sign up for a MailChimp, Constant Contact. There are now at least 20 different email platforms. Everybody I meet has a different opinion as to which one is better. Some of them are free. They're all freemium of some sort. MailChimp allows you to send 2,000 emails a month. So if you have an email list of 500 people and you send 4 emails a month, you're not going to be free. Conversely, Constant Contact costs you $10 a month. You can have 500 contacts, and you can send as many emails as you want. And the pricing is made to confuse you so that you don't know which one's actually going to cost you more. Then there are other social media tools like HubSpot and Hootsuite, all of which help you manage those feeds. One of my favorites is another one within Gmail, which you can download. It's an add-in to the Chrome browser. It's called Boomerang, and Boomerang is great because what it allows you to do is send you an email, and then it can send you a reminder, or it can send them a reminder if they don't respond on time. So you can keep track of it. This is the one that I talked about at the beginning, which is unlimited for 30 days, but then after 30 days you can only boomerang 10 emails. How are we doing for time? 5 minutes. Okay. All right, here we go. So Google Analytics. Google has provided an enormous number of tools which start off as free. Once you actually start getting into them, they start getting more expensive. If you go to the Analytics website, you can actually see you have Analytics, Tag Manager, Optimize. They're all of these tools. By the time you get to Analytics 360 Suite, it costs quite a lot of money. So they're all up there and they're all explained. Setting up Google Analytics takes seconds. Basically, you go to analytics.google.com in your special Gmail account. You go through and you get a UA code, and you also get a snippet of code. If you're using WordPress, then WordPress, you probably put a plugin into your WordPress site, which will mean all you have to do is add the UA code in the settings, and away you go. And immediately you do that, you will start seeing the analytics of people visiting your website. And it's very important to do that because you want to know whether what you're doing is actually working. So as I said, Google Tag Manager is something I discovered relatively recently, and it's like an overall thing because I've been adding a number of different snippets of code to my website, I discovered that Google Tag Manager will actually add a whole series of different ones, and it even has a facility to add one that it doesn't know about. And the things that you will learn about when you do Google Tag Manager is conversion tracking. So if you're actually paying for Google AdWords, you want to know that those AdWords are working. And AdWords is a whole separate webinar that at some point we may do, where we will talk about how you decide what keywords to use, what ads to place, how you place the ads, and where you go in terms of trying to get customers and how you manage the conversions. As I said, there's site analytics, you can use this, and then there's remarketing, which is where pixels come in, and there's more and more. And you can basically add all this stuff to your website without having to do any coding, and so it's a great tool. So I think we're almost at the question and answer session. There is an online evaluation for you to go to, which you can get. You should have at some point during this webinar have received an email telling you that here's the link to the evaluation. The evaluation is can be actually got directly at this web address. If you want to come in and have counseling from SCORE, you can go to a bit.ly which says SCORE Mentor, and later today or early tomorrow, this recording of this webinar will be on the SCORE Fairfield County YouTube site, which you can get from the URL at the bottom. So I will pass it back to Bob. Have we got any questions?
Thanks, Simon. Just a reminder, if any of the participants have questions, to please put them in the lower left-hand side of your screen. If you could just type them in, we'll be glad to take questions. Both Simon and Bob are available to answer your questions. I know there was a lot of material covered here today, but I'm sure there are questions. And if people want us to return to another slide or one of the topics, I know, Simon, we'd be more than glad to go back to a slide for a question or clarification. So we'll give people a minute or two here to flag their questions. And again, please don't be afraid to ask some questions. We do have 10 minutes or so set aside for them. Yep, the questions aren't coming in for some reason. Okay. Okay, again, sorry about that. We were having a technical issue at our end. So anyway, we do have a number of questions. And I'll first go to one from Francis Richards. I'm building the audience on the various platforms and have a small email list, but I need to find a way to ensure that I continue to build my email list. How do I connect my social media presence to get more email addresses? Okay, so on your website, the important thing to do these days, and apparently people don't find this too obnoxious anymore, is you can put a pop-up to your collect emails. So the minute that they enter your website, after 15 seconds, they will get a pop-up, and you have a nice little box that gives them a reason for wanting to sign up to your email list. I'm assuming that you already have your analytics set up, so you're measuring people, but you're probably seeing a lot of people visiting your website, but not very many signing up for your email list. Now, you probably should also have in your footer or the header of your website, you should also have a box which allows you to create emails, collect email addresses. Likewise, on Facebook, there is a Facebook widget that you can add to your Facebook page that will allow you to collect email addresses.
And as you go around, you find, you want to look at each one of your social media sites, and the social media sites will actually will actually you need to make the decision as to what you want to do on each one to collect email addresses.
That's great. Thanks, Simon. I think there's one that we largely covered during the presentation, but there was a question from Louis Petigue. How do you claim a listing?
Okay, so to claim the listing on Google, you go to gybo.com/business, and you go to View My Listing. And once you see the listing, there's a button on there that says Claim My Listing. There is a process they go through. You have to have a physical address, which can be sometimes difficult for people who are solo consultants who try to avoid putting their home address out on the internet. So, again, it becomes an issue. Do you want to go get a mailbox and have that as the address? Once you claim it, they will look at your email address. They will then send you a postcard with a code, which once you get that code, you will go back in and you will enter the code and you will claim the listing. All the different sites have slightly different ways of doing it, but usually there's a button, Claim This Listing. Sometimes it will say the listing is already owned by somebody else. Claim it anyway, and they will inquire of that person. Usually once you find out who it is, you'll find out either you set it up or someone you know who previously worked for you set it up and has left it hanging out there. But after, I think they have a period of 7 days where that person has to respond, and under certain circumstances they can give you the listing if you can prove that you're the real genuine owner of it. But that can be a little bit of a tussle.
Okay, thanks. Another one from Francis Ventura. If your business is online and you don't have a business telephone number, do you recommend setting up a business phone line to add to your email signature? What if you do not want to provide personal cell phone numbers or a number for your business? Could that affect the chances of attracting customers if this is not done? Email is usually the preferred method of contact in my business. Thank you for your response.
So there are several services, including Google Voice. There are redirect phone numbers, so you can go on, and if for each Gmail account you set up, you can claim one phone number. So it's like a fake number, or it's a fake real number, and you can control how that number comes through to your cell phone. So you can set it up to come through at certain times of the day. You can set it up so it never comes through. There's a separate voicemail for it, and you can set it up so that when voicemail is received, it is emailed to you so you know about it. It depends what kind of level of service you want to give for that phone number. If you have it ringing through to your phone, you can use the app on your phone to know that it's coming through on that number, or you can actually direct it directly to your number. There are quite a number. I mean, they are. The concept of virtual telephone numbers has been around for a while, and you can definitely use those to protect. And I think it's very good to protect your personal number.
Great. Thanks, Simon. There's a few questions here about how can we obtain a copy of the presentation? Can you include the link to the first tracking spreadsheet mentioned? I will reiterate that the session was recorded and the materials will be available on the SCORE Fairfield County YouTube channel. You can get to that through the direct link that's on the screen right now, or you can also get to it through our website, fairfieldcounty.score.org, and that should be up in the next day or so.
Get to it. You can also get to it. Hang on, I'll try and get back to the first slide. If you go to bit.ly/webinar091917, and then you look at the page there is the list of all of the sections we went through, and you can go through that. There's actually probably more detail in some of those. There might be less detail in some cases of what we talked about, so it's all up there and available. It's on the website, so there's no need for you to go looking for PowerPoint presentations. And again, the recording will be available on the SCORE Fairfield County YouTube channel.
Great. There's a question here from Jane Merrill. What do you think about managers like Entreport and other experts? You said you aren't in favor, but this is overwhelming for a solo entrepreneur.
I agree, it's overwhelming. I think you have to be careful how you use third-party services. They don't know your business like you do. Now, they can help do some of it for you, but at the same time, you need to not just hand it over and give it to them and leave it to them. The people I was talking to last night had kind of handed over their AdWords account to somebody who said they were managing their AdWords account, and they were spending several $100s a month on AdWords. And when I said, well, is that actually working for you? They didn't know. So we're going to sit down and we're going to go through the process of them figuring out, have they got the correct conversions? Do they have the goals set up? Do they know how much of that value of those keywords that they're going to? Are they valid keywords? You can't outsource this thing entirely. You've got to understand enough about it, and you've got to have someone you can work with who you can trust. So they're doing the same thing that you're doing as a solopreneur. They are, they're trying to say they're credible, but they don't know your business like you do, and you have to trust them and you have to work with them, and you have to understand enough about it to be able to manage it to make sure you're getting your value for money.
Here's a question. How can I keep my business page on Facebook away from my friends?
I don't know the answer to that. I'm sorry. I think you can possibly exclude people from pages on Facebook, but I've never really done that.
Okay, thanks. We've got a few questions here about getting help through SCORE mentors, and can we help? Certainly, as I said at the onset, and as Simon reiterated, if you would like individual mentoring from a SCORE mentor, please don't hesitate to go to our website and request help, and we'll line you up. If you put in the nature of your request, that will help us best line you up with the kind of help from the mentor that you're looking for. One more. Here's one from Larry Rosenblatt. I use Constant Contact and 20% open the emails that I send out, but I can convert any this to business. Any suggestions? I can't convert any of this to business. Any suggestions?
If you're getting 20% open, you're actually doing quite well. Typically, when we SCORE send out an email, we get like 10 to 12% of our emails are opened. So, for example, we send out an email, we get 1,000 people open it, we get 20 people actually respond to it. The problem is it depends what your service is, what people want, why they've signed up for your email list, what it is they're trying to get from you. Part of it may be looking at what you've got on your website, how you express your business, and how that matches with what they're looking for. People are buying for something that they connect with. And, I don't know how you're connecting with your customers. I mean, it's probably something, if you came in, we could sit with you and we could talk about, what is it or what isn't it that's making it so that you are not getting those conversions to customers. How much more do you need to send? Do you need to send people, if you're sending things through Constant Contact, that's a pretty impersonal way. Sometimes you want to take people out of your Constant Contact list and start emailing them more personal emails, which again is why, although I talked about using canned emails as a tool when you get started, you can still use it later on when you're trying to manage a sales funnel going forward and you want to take people through sales steps and to nurture them into becoming customers. People won't buy straight out of the box, that's for sure.
Just have one or 2 minutes left here for a couple of quick ones, Simon. There's one here. I created my listing on Google, but I keep on receiving calls that I need to register with them in order for customers to find us. Is that true, or are they just trying to sell me more services?
I don't know the answer to that, to be honest. What I do know is that Google tries to persuade all the SCORE chapters to become Google partners. We've received a lot of information about the Google Partners program. They provide us with half a dozen Google presentations, and at some point we may or may not as a chapter actually do those, and I might be able to find out more of that information. I'm not quite sure I really understand the question or what they're trying to do, but I would probably agree with you that they're trying to probably get you to spend some money on Google AdWords, and don't use AdWords Express.
Okay, we'll just take one last one here before we wind up. What is your opinion on building a LinkedIn business profile if you don't have the resources to build a website yet?
Depends on your business, but building a LinkedIn business profile is actually fairly simple. They only give you 2,000 characters to do your description of your business. But then what they do allow you to do is basically have a LinkedIn blog, and you can post articles both, and this is something we didn't really touch on today, but you do curated content to show your authority and your understanding in the field that you're working in, plus you add your own articles in between. And depending on what your type of business is, actually using LinkedIn is a very good way, but the most important thing you need to do with LinkedIn is to connect with as many people as possible. But again, LinkedIn, like AdWords, is a whole separate webinar.
Thanks, everyone. That's all the time we have for questions today. Thank you for your active participation. As a reminder, we have 2 webinars each month at SCORE, and the next one is 2 weeks from today on October the 3rd, and the topic is Branding for Success with Social Media, with Kelly Hattis presenting. So on behalf of SCORE, I'd like to thank all of you for attending today's live webinar, and please remember to visit our website, fairfieldcounty.score.org, for more information. And we would really appreciate it if you would fill out the evaluation form. It does help us in our program and our webinars. And so in closing today, a big thank you to Simon and Bob for presenting, and have a nice day, everyone.